Mic check, mic check. What's up, 3%ers? Back with another one. I just wanted to holler at y'all. And I wanted to go through a little bit of story time about something that occurred recently. And I wanted to use this as an opportunity, not only for what I learned, but give you an opportunity to learn something from it. And I'll start with a little bit of story time. When I was younger, I used to have class with these girls that were on the softball team, and they were lesbian girls, and they were real cool. They kind of like acted like the dudes. So we would be in class, and sometimes we would like share different things that we were doing. I'd share a picture of a girl, and then they would share a picture of a girl, type of thing. And they would give me all of like their story. And they tell me how they were with this girl while dating this girl, or they would see a girl with a guy and then they would get it with her, and then the boyfriend would never know, or one of them would like break up a girl and get with that girl. And like it was basically a lot of guy talk, but with lesbian girls. And they would let me into how they did things, which sounded like your typical toxic guy, right? And I used that story as a segue into what occurred recently in my life. A lot of times we try to treat people as if they're different. We want to give everybody their space to be different. And I have this coworker who was a gay man, and he was in management, and he was a real like by the book guy, super kind of cool, but like by the book. And sometimes he could go far and be a bit of a dick, but a lot of times he would show cracks in this like I'm by the book person, and his personality would come out. Like you could tell who he was outside of work. A lot of times when you're at work, you have to put on this mask, especially when you're in management or upper management, where you have to, be robotic in a way. You can't really be who you are and who you would be outside of work. And so sometimes when you're around somebody so much, you'll see glimpses of who they are. And, sometimes he would say little like stuff towards the guys, or he would be very open with the girls sometimes, and it was usually like the people of color, or what you would call the minorities. And I think mainly because usually we're the most accepting, and we're not usually the type of people that want to like go to HR about something. But I went into work, and it's a day that he's normally there, because usually he's there when I'm there, and he wasn't there. And so I thought, oh, maybe he's like on vacation. And then the next day I came in and he wasn't there. And that's when I got the, oh, did you hear? And did I hear what? And they basically said that, he got suspended, which basically means that he was in the process of being let go or fired. And he was supposed to come in the past 2 days, but he didn't. And so, he basically kind of like silently quit. He just stopped coming in. And the story that some of the other coworkers were telling me is that, one of the girls that we work with, he was being very open with her and jokey, and I guess a little flirtatious. And he said some things that she took offense to. And she took it to management, HR, and whatever the offense was, I heard different stories of him doing like touching her, or it was like he said something, whatever the story may be. This guy is somebody who is like flaming. I'm talking like got his nails done, does makeup on himself. Like obviously he presented himself like a man, but he was very, effeminate. And it was very clear that he was into men, that would be the assumption. Um, but I guess he did something with one of the girls. Now, this girl, mind you, is a person of color. She's, somebody that you would expect in our community to be a little more lenient, a little more fun, laughy, jokey, like kind of like the rest of us. But she took it to HR, and he ended up losing his job over this scenario. And it goes to show you that it doesn't matter, even if you're a part of a community or you do things in a way that says you're this way, that if a woman wants to take something the wrong way, all it takes is her to say something and you are done. And I'm sure that this was, what they would consider a red pill moment for him. But it also reinforced to everybody else there, make sure that you are not showing the cracks of who you truly are in work life, because somebody can just, pretty much ruin your career. And I circle back to the point where I was talking about with my lesbian homegirls at the time. It's funny that people can be a certain way. Like, we are very uh sexualized in all of our worlds for the most part. A lot of us are sexualized, whether no matter what your orientation is. And when we're comfortable, we will talk as though we're comfortable. But when you're at a job, for some reason, you there's always like this line that needs to be made, and where you're not allowed to be human. Instead of the girl coming to him and just being like, hey, I didn't like that, and I took offense to that, or I didn't appreciate what you did. Instead of coming to him like a person, one on one, human to human, she exercised power and got this man fired. And, that is a warning to all of us. And it is, also a moment of clarity where you realize that even though we try to say that we're equals and we try to treat each other as though we're equals, we're not equals. And as long as you kind of got that thing that's hanging between your legs, you will always be treated as though you are a predator or you are someone that is untrustworthy. And I later was in a conversation with another coworker who was a female, and she comes to me and she says, there's something that doesn't make sense to me. And I said, well, what is it? And she goes, it's crazy that our coworker earlier today was chatting with a bunch of people and chatting with some of our guy friend, like our guy coworkers and some of the other coworkers, about some of her exes and how big they were, how small they were, and how she broke up with her guy. She's just been on a streak with new guys, and she can be very open and outspoken with these people about what she's doing outside of work. But she's the same person that got this guy fired, who, mind you, is extremely on one side of the board, like extremely flaming. And she took offense to it and got this guy fired, where it was like he obviously doesn't want you in that way, but and sometimes in the gay community, especially when they're around black women, they're so accustomed to being treated like one of the girls And they're so accustomed to being free to be who they want to be that they don't see the same thing that a straight man would see, and they don't go through the same things that a straight man would go through in uh discourse with the opposite sex. And this was the first time in my life, and I'm sure that it happens all the time, but this is the first time that I could personally say that I seen somebody who was a man, who was homosexual, who got treated just like a man. And it's eye-opening to the world that we're in and the people that we're around. You know, the same person that can be open about their sexual life with heterosexual men at the same time can be in a scenario which I wasn't there, but from what I was told, a very joking manner. And mind you, I've been with the person that she's talking with. I've worked with him a long time. A very by the book person, but also will have times when they joke. And when you're in management, you work so much that sometimes you don't get to be yourself, and you lose yourself a little bit. So having those moments with coworkers where you can be a little free helps you make it through the day. And we've become so desensitized to what it means to be a human that we're so quick to react in ways that dehumanize everyone around us. And in the same breath was able to be open with other people. And a girl that I worked with noticed it. Now, maybe not every girl is going to notice that. And I would say she's not like a very typical woman. She doesn't think like the modern woman thinks. But for her to even notice that and then be comfortable enough to talk to me about it, she was very upset at the fact that this girl was able to do that and get this guy fired. But then at the same time, that same day that we were talking, was open about her sexual history. And, I just wanted to share that as a chance for whoever sees this video as an opportunity to learn from that situation as I did, but also take into consideration that I get that we're in a work setting and we're supposed to be professionals, aka robots. But when you work so much, especially when you're in management, because that's pretty much all you're doing all day, that is your career. We have to be able to have a conversation with people. And what I've noticed, especially in my own personal life, is when you have disagreements with people in the workforce, people are so quick to try to get you fired or get you discipline action instead of, being a human and being able to talk with somebody and have a conversation. Like you can easily put aside the mental space of being in work and put that to the side and go, hey, from person to person, I didn't appreciate this. And I would appreciate if we move forward without doing whatever occurred. And we've seemed to have lost that. We've lost this sense of like community in the fact that this person relies on this job just like you rely on your job to get their bills paid, to do the things that they want to do and accomplish in life. And it's turned into everybody just tattletales on everybody for the slightest little thing instead of being adults. It's not like we're in an elementary setting where you go to the teacher and say, oh, so and so pushed my books off my desk, and then so and so gets their disciplinary action. Like, this isn't a school set. Like, this is work. This is people's lives that we're talking about. And what I've noticed is a lot of women are so quick to want to get like ruin somebody's life. And maybe they have the fear of being able to talk to somebody one on one, but you didn't have that fear to go talk one on one with management to get rid of this person. I think that it is it's a it shows and it summarizes where we're at in life right now, where everybody's so interested in everybody else's life. We go on people's pages, we scroll, we go through people's YouTubes, and we do all these different things to be so invested in other people's lives. We've had magazines where you tell the tell all, or you listen to the superstar actress or artist talk about their life. We're so interested in other people's lives, but we're so quick to be judgmental and to be willing to destroy somebody else's life, even though we're so connected into everybody's life. We're more connected in everybody's life today than we've ever been, but we've always been community-based creatures. And we just don't even care about other people. And even a group that I would say is a protected group, which is being a part of, the LGBT or community, which is a protected group. And to even be a part of that group and still be put and still not be protected, like protected but not protected, in the sense that he's a man. And I wonder to myself, if the roles were reversed, what would have been the outcome. And I just wanted to kind of share that story and think about it, because as a 3%er, it's not our jobs to be judges of the world. It's our jobs to be the thinkers of the world. And when you think about it, it gives you a chance to see where it is that we are as a society, as a country, and um, as a species as well. So hopefully, you can take something from this. Hopefully, if you're in a situation where you feel uncomfortable with somebody at work, maybe you're not comfortable enough to take them to the side and talk to them one on one, because you feel like that could be taken the wrong way. And then they'll go and, tell on you either way. It's like we're all walking on eggshells. And so hopefully, you can be in a position where you can humanize the people around you and have a little empathy and sympathy for others around you, while still being able to protect yourself and your livelihood. And moving forward, I don't know where it goes. All I can do is think about what has occurred. I don't know how we make a difference unless we start within ourselves. But my gay coworker definitely had his red pill moment in life, where it's, maybe this takes him another way. Maybe maybe makes him not like women in this aspect, or I don't know, or maybe you just never know what it does to somebody in a situation like that. And I wish the best for that person, and for the person who was the perpetrator. I have sympathy for them, but I also feel like, you know I feel like that person has a lot to learn in life, and life has a funny way of teaching you the lessons that you are so quick to want to teach others. And hopefully, she'll get her red pill moment as well. That way we can all start to open our eyes to what's happening in life. So if you never had a red pill moment, that this story and everything that I talked about, hopefully it's your red pill moment as well, no matter your sexual orientation. Until the next one, stay suave, stay stupid.